Hey, welcome to the What If Free Mystery Podcast. Today I'm Jobber. Let me tell you, I've already recorded episode 1. We're on episode 2, and who knows how much I'll record today, because literally I'm just on a roll, and I just feel like talking about stuff for some reason. So I'll let Jobber introduce himself, I guess.
Yo, what is up? It's your boy, the What If You Glazer, the GR Slanderer. It's your boy, John Vergona. Let's go. Nice to be on here. It's your lawyer, all right? Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
I will say it's really funny that the first video I actually added for him was one for Cobra Kai. There is an upcoming thing that'll come out, but I'm not going to spoil that because it's his channel and I don't feel like doing that. So
Okay.
all I'm going to say for right now. But it's coming at some point. It's coming out.
It's coming out soon.
So we're talking about some Jojo What If topics today. If we ever do a follow-up, just comment down some ideas below. Maybe we'll talk about them. Sounds interesting enough, I guess. I think that's the best way I can say it. But we did take one What If suggestion from Jobber's live stream chat. He streams on his channel, and their question was, what if Jolene kept a piece of the arrow that Jojo gave her when she first entered jail? So what are your thoughts on that?
So if Jolene kept her piece of the arrow that Jojo gave her when she first entered the jail. Well, personally, I guess it'd make her life a little bit more easier because it would have created as many stand users for her to deal with inside the prison. So I guess most of the arc would kind of just be a breeze, for her. And I could only imagine, the shenanigans that the shenanigans that I like the term the best term as, but yeah, the shenanigans that Poochie would get up to with White Snake, just giving people stands regardless of the air because he has standish. So I think that if she kept the piece of the air with her, there'd be way less stand users because when she lost them, there was more of them because of that, right? So yeah, I think it'd make her life a bit easier. The whole arc, the whole prison arc, just a bit easier, right? Let's say half of the Stone Ocean prison stand users are just gone, right? Enemies. So yeah, I that's what I think, right? Now, what if this arrow could, I don't know, grant some ultimate ability, I don't know, how the arrow granted Killer Queen, right? Maybe there could be a stand evolution of Stone Free, not necessarily a Requiem, but just similar to Killer Queen bites the dust, right?
Yeah,
in that case,
I will say it's not a Requiem arrow. There are people who like to say it is. It's not. We have no idea if it is, in all honesty, from what we know.
Yeah, I'm just using some general fan term, whatever. I guess this.
I do think it could cause a stand evolution because from what we know from Part 4, that doesn't seem too far off if that happened.
Yeah, I could imagine she'd get a stand evolution during the whole maybe the Sea Moon arc, right? It's right after she used the Mobius script. She just tries all methods, and all of a sudden the arrow goes right side her arm, right? And that's when she gets a stand evolution of Stone Free to combat Sea Moon. I guess in this case that Jojo doesn't show up on time, right? So I could definitely imagine that. What would the evolution be? I have absolutely no idea. I'm not that creative, but
stand is kind of hard to come up with what an evolution for it would be, unlike a bunch of other stuff. I feel like
I could just say oh well, her stand is stone. What was it? It's literally Stone Free. So and it's strings. Oh, her stand evolution is string theory. I could imagine that. I mean, that'd probably be really easy to come up with. Actually, just I don't know, string theory, yeah, or something along those lines. But that's all I mean,
we could theoretically just give her a ridiculous ability. It's she can persist through all timelines, basically.
No,
something really dumb.
Yeah, Made of a Poochie. Remember that SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob unravels the universe by pulling a string, right?
Yeah.
So when Poochie does the universal reset, Jolene just pulls a string and then just basically brings it all back together. She strings it back together. Like SpongeBob.
Hey, that's how string theory works. She just pulls everything back together.
Yeah. Crazy.
Maybe it makes it so that Poochie can't break a universal concept like gravity, basically.
I know, right? Like, what? It's
I
pretty
always found
neat.
it weird that that's actually like how his abilities really work. Because people are like, "Oh, your time travel son?" It's like, no, he's like rewriting reality using like a universal constant. Basically, it's just nuts when you try to actually think how May and Heaven's supposed to work properly. At least for me.
Yeah. It's definitely something, though. But at least
That
that's my
sounds like
thing.
something more you'd be more kind of discuss on your channel than me coming up with how I
I'll,
think it properly functions.
I like the scientific, but yeah, like maybe, but Made Heaven
Because
is
I
definitely
think
an
it
interesting
can be
thing.
explained scientifically. A lot of stuff, surprisingly, in JoJo can for some reason. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I think
Some stuff is just crazy, though. In all honesty.
oh yeah, church is just crazy. I think the most interesting thing, I guess, scientifically to me, probably it's like I guess number one would definitely be like the King Crimson. Like how does that work? That's like the most biggest common question in the community, right? Because like a guy says I erase time, and then immediately we think, what does that actually mean, right? Like you get like a scientific sense, where you get like a metaphorical sense, but like the scientific sense, it's like, well, I mean, it'd be kind of similar to just time stop in a sense. It's like, well, nothing should move like this and that, right? I mean, I have a whole like video on it. Like, okay, well, what is the JoJo cosmology? Like, how does time work there specifically? Like, time could work there differently, in that fiction in our real life, but it actually works quite similarly, right? There's lots of things to pick on that. It's a very interesting topic. Always has been. But I think second would probably be like I don't know, like Funny Valentine, like D4C, like how he can the merger sponges specifically. Like, let's say your alternate self can't meet, your other ultimate universe self. I don't know, the merger sponge effect. It's just interesting stuff to me at least. But yeah.
Speaking of part 5, I did want to talk about one suggestion I thought of was for what if Jotaro Kujo decided to go Italy instead of Koichi?
Ooh.
In my opinion, my setup for this was more like Jotaro doesn't want someone else to get hurt in this concept, so he just felt like it was his responsibility to go, was my idea. At least that's my setup I'm going to go with, because, I mean, anyone can come up with setups for what ifs. It's really depending on what you think makes sense, but to me, for his character, that made the most sense to me. At least how I felt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense for Jotaro's character, but like, yeah, I mean, if I were to like give my thoughts on this what if, right? Okay, so of course I'm gonna have to go full force. I think people are gonna like Diablo Epitaph precog like 10 seconds ahead of what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna say it because I'm fated to, which is like, listen,
That's
Jotaro
fair.
Kujo, he goes to Italy, he's gonna solo, bro. Like, Jordan's gonna steal his luggage, and then like Jordan's like, damn, that's crazy. He's gonna probably pick up a rock, throw it at the car, bounce one of the wheels, and then that's it for like Jordan. Like, then Jordan has to talk to Jordan at that point or whatever. But like, what if this just like, okay, let's just say like the plot continues on, like regular. Jordan gets in the gang, all this other type of stuff. It's always sunny in Italy, right?
Yeah.
And we get to Diablo, all right? And this is the point where Jordan calls up Jordan. He's like, yo, bro, like, this is kind of crazy. And Jordan's like, damn, bro, I got you. I'll be up there in a sec, fam. Also, you guys are going to get the arrow from some guy? Got you. Okay. So, when it gets to, like, the whole... I can imagine... There's, like, a video,
I do think narratively, if the call were to happen there, I think we learned stuff about, like, polymorph and everything at that point, instead of, like, way later into part 5, like, part 2, basically, because...
Oh, yeah, he would definitely try to contact
He would probably basically be like, oh, we kind of know who this guy is, and he does seem pretty dangerous from what you just told us, basically, would probably go down.
Yeah, like, if Jotaro went to, Italy, like, way earlier on, I could definitely imagine that Polnareff would catch wind of this, because, like, he couldn't get in contact with, like, Jotaro, like, outside, because, the whole mob thing, right? the whole mob syndicate. But since Jotaro is in Italy, like Polnareff's gonna know this immediately. He always keeps tabs, just like I kept tab with Bruno's gang, right? So, oh, dang, Jotaro's in Italy. Let's go. Like, all right, fine. This is just like lucky.
Well, I was also
And-
thinking, like, if he realized, oh, he can't contact Polnareff for a reason, it's like, well, what if I contact him through someone else, basically?
Yeah.
Kind of like using
So-
a VPN, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, like that too, you know? And eventually this is all going to lead to Jotaro versus Yavlo, where the fight, at least how I imagined it narratively, right? Given how, like, narratively Star Platinum is, like, way stronger, way faster, has the better ability than Diablo, it's like, well, I can imagine, like, okay, so how the people are asked, how would time stop interact with time erasure or time skip or whatever, right? Keep in mind, I think like time erasure is like, or time skip, time erasure, whatever the fuck, it's a metaphorical thing, right? That's not something to be taken literally. That's how the narrative like explains and presents it, and that's just how it's like consistently shown, right? So, and of course, time stops in the literal sense, but so how would these two things interact, right? So imagine like Diablo uses like time erase on Jotaro, and Jotaro is fated to like in these 10 seconds he's gonna do whatever he's fated to do in 10 seconds. But at the 5-second mark, all of a sudden from Diablo's point of view, Jotaro just teleports. And Diablo's like, what the fuck is going on? I did not see like a precognitive like vision of like Jotaro moving to this other place. He just looked like he just went there instantaneously. And from Jotaro's perspective, it would appear like he have just, essentially just skipped to a different position. He's like, wait, why am I already in stop time? Right? And the reason why this would happen is because Jotaro is stopping like the flow of Diablo's ability, right? So it no longer has any hold over him. Just someone had to like GR did like reverted like Diablo's ability to 0 to now having no effect on GR, right? His ability is at 0 in both these instances, right? And so Jotaro would go to like hit Diablo, right? And then he realized that, oh my god, this guy's like intangible. Okay, like, oh, I get what's going on here. I get his ability. He can like erase time. Got you. Okay. And at that point, Jotaro would go get some distance, and then like was if Diablo, like, at least as soon as he sees like Jotaro teleport, he concludes that he can stop time, and then he gets some distance, and then there'd be like some type of like final showdown after their abilities end, where they look at each other. Jotaro would conclude that like, yo, like, okay, he can erase time, but also he cannot attack me. I know that for a fact. If he could attack me, I would have already been dead. Okay, so at that point, it's like whoever's, I guess, quicker on the draw in that like sort of instance. And of course, I had to go with my boy Jotaro Kujo. Like, I could imagine, like, let's say Diablo somehow gets the advantage for the epitaph, right? Because he's gonna be hard banking on it. He's behind Jotaro. He's already got the attack, like, sent it out, and all of a sudden, just like how Jotaro did to Kira, right? He just absolutely mollywops him, right? And
I
that
just
kind
like
of
the
be
idea
end
to
of it.
think that narrative-wise, it's fate itself, because Jotaro was just fated to punch him. It didn't matter like what Diablo was trying to do.
Oh yeah, true. Like, Diablo's ability of like erasing time, he can like, I guess, circumvent like fate or something. But it's revealed that like essentially when Diablo, like, I guess, quote unquote circumvents fate, or when GR like quote unquote changes fate, that was already predestined to happen. So in reality, no one's actually above fate. Like, it's kind of wild to think about, but yeah, like no one's actually truly like above fate. Like, all these things that like, oh, you changed fate. Well, that was fated to happen. So that was like the whole like theme of like, that's the whole point of like part 5 is like everyone's sleeping slaves to fate, right? Like, no one can actually change fate, right? But
I do feel like Polnareff would probably die in this universe for narrative's sake, though. Sadly, like, I genuinely think that's gonna happen.
It just depends how tragic it could get, but yeah, I'm rooting for my boy Polnareff to live. I don't want him to die just yet, but I think Jotaro
I mean,
Kuji's gonna go see.
I could see Diablo try to do it just to get a rise out of Jotaro, because he thinks like, oh, if I kill his friend, maybe he'll lose guard or something.
Yeah,
But that doesn't seem too unrealistic for him to do.
yeah, true. I could definitely imagine that, especially like seeing like, I guess, Polnareff's condition, but that is something though. I will grant that. Could definitely imagine that sadness happening. But yeah, I think that's probably my take on, what if Jotaro Kujo went to Italy instead of Koichi. All right. So that's my take. That's my take.
So we're gonna go back apart real quick, and we're gonna talk about what if Josuke actually grew up with his biological father, since that seemed like a pretty interesting topic to talk about, actually.
Nice. What if Yoshiki grew up with with his biological father, Joseph Joestar? That
One
not
thing
too
I
sure.
always wondered is, could Crazy Diamond like fix like the dementia that he was dealing with, like in part 4? They kind of had like, is that possible? Because we don't know.
I'd say, probably not. I don't know. It's an interesting question. I'd say
It's the same
probably
thing
not.
with like muscles tearing, like with older people. It's like, could it theoretically help? Maybe, but would it be too late at this point? Possibly. It's the thing.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't think that's ever been like truly, I guess, explained. I'm not too sure. But I wonder why Drewski never tried that. We're gonna see that. Maybe there might be an explanation in series 4. I don't know, but I mean, if he grew up with like Joseph, I don't think he would have. I feel like he would kind of still be like the same-ish personality. Um, and probably he might not have the pompadour anymore because I don't know the whole car thing. I mean, Joseph would have been there to push the car, so I mean, I guess he would have just saw Joseph at this year or whatever. I don't.
I mean, he might still be out fighting Dio though in part 3. It doesn't seem too
Oh yeah,
unrealistic.
yeah, I
Him
forgot about
dealing
that.
with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
true,
was
true,
about to
true.
say that would be way too much rewriting history. As far as that goes, I feel like he at least be committed to do that because it's like for honor. It's like it's fate. Why not? It's like
Yeah.
what he has to do.
So he still has the pompadour. That's 100%. So he still has the pompadour because that whole scene happens still. So, I mean, let's just say after the party, just goes back over there and helps out. He's definitely not teaching him any almond. He didn't do that to like Holly or Jotaro. So like, I don't think he's getting anything cool. I'm
I
trying
don't
to
think
think.
he would see a need to either.
Yeah. Plus, he was a Josuke had to stand like way earlier. If anything, I could imagine. If anything, yeah, Jotaro would be there way earlier to help teach Josuke how to use his stand way earlier than usual. Because Josuke at that time, as a kid, had his stand. That's why he was so sick. So I
I
guess he'd
think
be
the
way
other
better.
thing is like if we say, I know the the one the one shot manga. No, not the one shot manga. The side manga is not canon, but what he'd be doing Crazy Diamond's demonic heartbreak would be interesting because whole horse just back. He's like dealing with that.
Yeah. I also think that like Josuke would be more proactive because in part 4, the whole point of the part is like he's him learning to be like the guardian angel of the town. So it's Jotaro's teaching him that, right? And because of Josuke not being proactive, in the end of the day, like Shigechi got killed because of that, right? And this whole character I think got pretty bad because Josuke wasn't proactive in the situation at all. He's like, well, I don't know what the fuck to do. And he's like, we gotta try something at least, right? That's like the whole point. But yeah, the more proactive Josuke got, he eventually defeated Kira.
Yeah,
But
I feel like the end result would be still fairly similar though. Like I don't see them having a shot getting Kira early is my thing. Because they
I
still didn't
mean,
know who he was. I think
oh, true,
like
true,
they
true.
eventually figured out, but it's like a lot of stuff will just happen just slightly better. Because like Josuke, like earlier knows what stands are and everything.
Yeah, I just think that like Josuke would definitely be a little bit more vigilant than before. Way more vigilant.
Now, what we need to talk about is if Jotaro shows up, find out about everything. That's
I agree.
that's more interesting thing, I think, a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, especially more vigilant about the arrows too. Like Josuke would be way more like I guess experienced, combat ready. He'd be going with fights with pretty much ease. I can imagine with Jotaro and Joseph's teachings and experience. So I think it'd be pretty good. Maybe speed up part 4, at least in my opinion. Make Crazy Diamond like a stronger, faster stand. I could definitely imagine. But yeah, like, and also like
I could
you have
see
more abilities.
Jotaro still being mad at Joseph, but I feel like he'd understand. He would want to take care of someone. I feel like, in my perspective.
Yeah, that too. Right, that too. He'd be like, I guess in this scenario, I guess he'd be less mad than he would be at least in the canon timeline. Right, he'd be less mad. But like, he'd still be mad. He'd still be mad. But yeah, I think
He'll be mad, but he understands a bit better why he just stood behind, basically.
yeah. That makes sense. At least that's my thoughts on this what if too. So that's pretty good what if, you know.
I guess we're gonna jump back to part 5 because I thought this was kind of interesting. If what would have happened if Poochie decided to go to Italy in part 5, and the reason that I told you because I was wondering, was he just going back for Giorno? My idea of why he's going back, he's trying to get the stand arrow, basically. Because we know from part 5, Diablo basically sold the arrows to Dio and Enya, basically. So he would probably be able to figure this out and roughly know where he's at. Possibly. Because at least that's my rough estimation. So perhaps he shows up there. I would still say, we're gonna still say that Koichi probably meets Giorno, similar to how it did in Cam. We're just gonna skip over that because I don't think we need to explain that. So
Yeah,
I would. Here's an interesting thing. Would Poochie get in contact with someone first before Giorno? That's a more interesting narrative thing.
I think the only thing people he get in contact with would be just like probably. I'd probably just say goons that he had like probably in part 6, but I mean, I really don't think he would. I don't think he would feel the need to get in contact. You just see like how the things are how the events are unfolding in part 5. I think he'd be the background guy. His main goal would most likely just be, like I think there'd be like 3 things in mind: that Requiem arrow, King from was Diablo's stand, getting that stand disc from him, and also potentially just like recruiting Giorno. So I think what was it? I think Poochie would appear most likely, given like his stand at least, because he's a sneaky guy, right? That's how he kind of appears in part, like at least at the beginning of part 6, right? He has a standout. I think it's going to take place during the Silverchair Requiem arc, where it won't really matter what like body that Poochie's in. He's just seeing the power of the Requiem arrow. He's like, okay, now I want this arrow, right? This could be useful. I could create some good enemy stand users for the future. They could even take their discs, right? Put them with other people if they're like, I don't know, not as useful, right? So I can imagine that too. And you can see like, oh, this other guy has the ability to, erase time. Got you. I'm gonna try to steal his ability, right? So I can imagine Poochie in the middle of like, let's say like, I don't know, Diablo's got the stand arrow, right? After like missed and Poochie them tried, right? And all of a sudden, White Snake comes up from behind him and steals the stand disc, right? And then grabs the arrow and like, who the heck is this guy? And I can imagine some like bargaining. He's like, well, hold on, I'll give you the arrow if you like give me Giorno or something along those lines, right? Or maybe I don't know, Poochie just might go somewhere else. You never know, right? Like
I
might
think
make
the other thing that he could do is what one narrative I would think of would be like the false messiah thing. So he shows up, and it's like he's trying to put on this act that it was like destined or type thing happened, basically. Because like a priest thing, he could play that up, basically. And he could just be like, oh, Jor, like your biological dad is actually a great guy. But unfortunately, like he was killed like these evil people or something.
Yeah.
And he just lied to him who Dio was. I think he could.
Yeah, of course. Like you could definitely do that, right? And actually, that'd be a pretty good, like I guess, cliffhanger ending. It's like, okay, well, Diablo's been defeated, and because his Sandus has been taken, Diablo's basically out of the comatose. He's useless, and then just Giorno can become the mob boss, but like this guy that's like it sounds pretty evil, just took the arrow and like apparently just was a Diablo stand disc, which is, both those things aren't a good thing. And he just goes on about some religious talk. He's like, oh, Jorno's fate to this, Jorno's Dio's son, he's eventually going to come to him, right? And so this could lead to at least a canonical reason for Jorno to go to, like, at least Florida in part 6.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I would still see Jorno look through, like, Pucci and not trust him at all. It's like,
yeah,
it seems like a crazy guy just showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah. But like, at least that'd be a pretty cool canonical reason why, like, let's say Jorno, or even his gang too, would go over to, just Florida, right? And let's say the reason why they don't do it immediately is like, well, damn, we gotta like manage this whole like, like the gang or whatever, like the whole mob of like the part 5 in Italy, right? You gotta manage it just real quick, then they can go over, or at least Jorno can, right? Because that's
the interesting thing is that Diablo doesn't have to be killed if King Crimson just stole it. He's just like a jobber, just there.
Oh yeah, true. They would just kill him. Jorno and them would just kill him like on the spot. But at least the reason why they wouldn't go over to Florida immediately, they got to run this whole like mob organization, right? A mafia, right? They're gonna run.
The other thing is like Pucci won't. I don't think Pucci would kill him. He would just give him the choice if he wants to go with them at some point or not, and just.
Diablo would definitely reject that. He's like, "What the heck are you talking to?" I was like, "No, well, I guess you're gonna die here, mole." that's how it would be. He's like, "Well,
I was more referring to like Jorno. I'm sure Pucci would be fine just having Diablo just be killed. He wouldn't care."
Oh yeah, Jorno definitely would definitely reject the offer, because at this point it's like, well, yeah, it'd basically be like Pucci just like asking Jorno to just give up his dreams and just come with him, like a random guy like Jorno just knows, like just this evil, just like looking at him like, yeah, you're evil, bro. Like probably the worst in Diablo. It's like, nah, I'm good. But I think that's pretty interesting. What if though? Like Pucci would definitely be the scheming and memeing person in the background, and he'd only come up to the last second with White Snake to do some crazy stuff, like, well, steal King Crimson's stand disc when he's like off guard. He's got the arrow, and also like steal the arrow too, and then set up the events of at least Jorno and maybe his gang coming into Florida in part 6, right?
I think it'd be funny if he tries to give King Crimson to someone else, but Jorno just beats him. It's like, oh, this is really bad.
Yeah. It's like, damn.
Like Jorno can bypass this guy that he thinks is this strong, that's giving so many other people problems.
Nope. That would definitely be something. So, oh my god.
But that would make sense why Jorno would probably show up though, because he would find out about that.
Yeah. Like that person could just last for like maybe a pretty long time with like, at least the new person using like King Crimson. Like, oh well, like Jorno could show up during like the whole after like Jolene breaks out of prison, and it would just be like, oh my god, we're facing a guy who can. It seems like I don't know what his ability is, and then all of a sudden Jorno shows up. His ability is to like erase time. And like, huh? And he turns around, is like, just Jorno's like, yo, I'm here to help. I got you. I've dealt with this before. Basically, Jorno would be the Koichi of part 6. Essentially, he'd be helping out. He'd be giving his like tips and advice. He's like, yo, this is what we need to do in order to beat this opponent, right?
The only other stupid thing I'm thinking of is like having Made in Heaven just turn into a Requiem stand just beyond what it's originally supposed to be.
Yeah, he just
how
like
broken it'd be.
Oh, true. He'd just be like floating in the sky, like and then just like the Requiem Air would just like go inside of it too, and then all of a sudden it's just like more combinations. That'd be pretty cool to see like just what other abilities have. I guess narratively though, at least the power of the Heaven Planet, Made in Heaven, it goes beyond the Requiem Arrow and its power. At least that's how like Araki explained it in an interview, like as well. And it's like also like explained in series with like Star Platinum, and also just how Made in Heaven is just above these ultimate state abilities like Star Platinum and was it the World, Gold Experience Requiem, right? So it'd still be interesting to see like if he just gets an additional ability, like, oh, what would it be, huh? I'm curious, right? But that'd
you
be
can also
cool.
just give nothing. It's like,
oh, yeah, that's true.
Cheap is basically it.
Yeah, true. It could also be nothing, but That is definitely that's definitely something. But yeah, I think that's at least my opinions on like what if Pucci went to Italy during like part 5, right?
So for one of the funny suggestions I threw in, I threw in what if Dio turned good after absorbing like Joseph's blood in part 3. And my idea is like Dio was like taking a gamble and he didn't know what was gonna happen if he did it. And this is just the outcome because Jonathan's influence is just too strong again because he absorbed more Joestar blood when he thought it'd just make him more powerful. Is my concept behind it.
Like Dio's literally the what was it, the music track called Feel Good? Like it's like those Tony Benners. I don't know. It's like Feel Good, like that right there. This Dio, I mean, yeah, it would be pretty mean. It reminds me of that video where Diablo has a redemption after the death loops. He's just like smiling, and Joe's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Like if he's just that, it's like, bro, this is crazy, dog.
I just like the idea, like Joe's like, wait, he's not doing something he was doing earlier. He has to figure out how to handle his situation.
Yeah. Jojo would be conflicted. I think everyone would be conflicted. Actually, just like I don't know anymore. You know what? If he turned good, I think at bare minimum they would place Dio in a jail cell for like the rest of his life. Essentially, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they place him in a jail cell. But he probably would tell Jotaro that he had like many sons, and he probably like tell them like I don't know. I guess they generally are right, like to the best of his ability. I can imagine that.
That would be interesting if the sons of Dio don't end up with Pucci afterwards. They're just working like for a Speedwagon Foundation.
Yeah. I'll be working for the Speedwagon Foundation, but yeah, it's definitely pretty.
Would Pucci have an arc just trying to break Dio out of jail? Is that gonna be a new thing?
Probably like, Dio, I'm coming here to break you out of jail. It's like, bro, I'm good, man. I
want to be here.
Well,
atone for my sin. He's like, you what?
Yeah, it's like, what the heck? It's like, bro,
I think that's funnier to think about because he probably would narratively just show up, break him up after everything.
Yeah, I think Pucci would probably be like, you're not Dio. He'd probably look at that version of Dio, the equivalent of like Dio just got a lobotomy and there's nothing I can do about it. It's like, well,
probably.
I mean, yeah, he's like, well, that sucks. I guess I'm gonna have to like, I'll just steal like your stand disc from you, I suppose. Like, clearly, I don't think you're worthy of it anymore. I'll just steal the world and I'll just leave. That's probably what he might do. He might actually. I think he probably might steal the memory disc as well. But well, I mean, he doesn't have to steal from Jotaro. It'd be a little harder than stealing from this Dio, maybe. But I don't know. Maybe this Dio's gonna be combative. Like I don't know. He's gonna be passive about it. And he's like, listen, bro, I don't want to fight you. And he's just teleporting away. He's like, listen, I know what your stand does. Like, chill.
I think the funnier thing is that this Dio just kills Pucci. He just has to explain everything. Oh, yeah, it's like, true. I had to do it. It's like I knew who this guy was. Like, it would have been really bad.
Yeah, he's gonna reset the universe. Like I did this a favor.
That'd be funny, because that's just the end of Jojo timeline. Like, Pucci's dead.
True. Like, a good Dio. It's like, a good Dio is like a good, like, reverse Flash. Or, like, it's like, I don't know. That's wild to think about. It was B. Barry. I saved the house of, like, the burning house. Like, I saved the people in the burning house. Like, that's not like you, Thorn. I'm good now, Barry. It's like, this is weird. But yeah, just at least that's definitely a funny what if though. I like that. It's like, what did you turn good if you absorbing Justice blood? It's just a full meme. Once again, I imagined you going probably almost exactly like the whole like you should just look up on YouTube the Diablo. Like, what if he turned good and it's just like a smiling Diablo and it's like, what is wrong with you? I think it play out similar to that, but that's just my take.
Yeah, Gira turning good's impossible for me to think of as an actual what if for how his character works, it's really hard for me to believe that ever happened. At least that's how I feel about him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Cars would be funny if he, for some reason, chose to be good for a reason. But still, really, again, that one's another hard one for me to believe. For anything for that to happen.
That one's like there's like a non-canon story based off of that. Essentially, it's like novel Cars. Like he does.
That's what I was thinking.
He does turn good. Like then again, he does have like I guess probably almost a limitless amount of time to think. Like, damn, I was a silly billion, and now I'm a silly billion space. Like, what is this?
I mean, I guess that could happen. Like, he's just in space for so long, he just thinks about it for so long.
Yeah.
That was one thing I also thought. It's like, when Dio's in the coffin and he turned good early, like that early, that would be more interesting to actually discuss, now I think about it.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be fine. So, he turns good, but it'd be fine if he still comes up with the heaven plan. But it's more similar, like, do you know Persona at all? Like,
yeah.
I was thinking it'd be like, my idea is that Dio's new heaven plan's similar, like Dr. Maruki. It's like, I don't want anybody to exist who was like me before. It's just still like a really bad thing that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And we could still like have his stand activate and still cause problems, but it's not intentional type of deal.
Yeah.
Because he didn't mean to hurt Holly. It's more like it's just coincidence that it occurred. Type of deal.
I get what you mean. Also, it can be funny. What if like Dio just decided to like write a book about it, like his past deeds, his villainy or whatever? It's like, I'm just gonna write this book and I'm gonna put it in this store. That's what I'm gonna do in this prison. It's like Joe's like, I what? Yeah, Dio becomes an author. He does in
part 4. He's just writing the book.
Yeah, it's more than just a heaven plan. It's just like his, like life story. Yeah, it's his life story.
You just ask to see Jorno. It's like, who is this guy?
It's the best-selling author in the entire world. It's Dio Brando. He's been alive for centuries. This guy's like a walking meme. Like, dude, he's centuries old. He used to be a vampire. This guy's a time traveler. Like, I can imagine the world like, yo, this is crazy.
People's like, this is the best written book of fiction ever.
Yeah, it's very accurate to, I guess, history. This guy's lived through pretty much most of it. It's like, wow. That's how stands work? Crazy.
That's something really funny to think about in hindsight.
Yeah. That's what's funny to think about.
One thing I did think about part 4, what if Josuke didn't want to help Jotaro, like, get involved with everything that stands? Do you think Jotaro would be able to figure out everything himself? Possibly if he didn't have his help?
Yeah, I think he, I mean, this might be me glazing Jotaro, but I think he'd be able to, maybe not look fully by himself, but like he'd be able to use other people in the town, like Koichi, for example, right?
I mean, Polnareff is actually probably won't be able to contact him at that point.
He can't contact him at all. Yeah, at least during part 4, he can't. He knows Polnareff is doing his thing in Europe or something, so that's something.
But I guess he could figure it out. He has a lot of resources, honestly.
And experience. Yeah, it's a lot of things people try to get around with when it comes to Jotaro.
That's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it would be interesting if Jolene didn't exist. That would be something worth talking about.
If Jolene didn't exist, yeah, that is hard to think how like Pucci would enact his plans. I imagine the way he'd enact them would probably have to be like, the part 4 people that like Pucci would target most likely.
That would be interesting because we could revisit like Josuke and everything because that's what he would have to do.
Yeah.
He'd probably run into an issue once he figures out how strong his stand is, though.
Yeah. And experienced what was it just get used to? It's like, well, that's makes everything a lot tougher on Poochie for certain.
And he'd have to like slowly get like his jobbers like into town and try to disguise themselves, type of deal. Just have them move in slowly.
Yeah.
Oh, who's these weird prisoner people moving in our town?
Yeah. We're prisoners. Like, what's going on here?
It's like it'd be really funny. They're just there for some reason. It's like something weird's going on.
At that point, like, man, that town's just gonna. I forgot what the series was called on TV, but there's like a whole like town. It's like weird stuff happens there all the time, and it's like, well, now you got a priest trying to like reset the universe in Moria. It's like it just gets more and more bizarre. Like, why Moria?
Honestly, it would still fit this theme, I feel like.
It's a bizarre town.
I guess another character that could be interesting in part 6 would be Josuke, I feel like. Because Jojo's a lot harder to put in, but Josuke doesn't seem as difficult, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Josuke would definitely be pretty useful in part 6. He'd definitely be at least the second strongest and fastest character in that part as well. So you'd be able to get a lot of stuff done, especially with his abilities being pretty useful, especially for healing. So not necessarily worry about injuries or anything like that.
Do you think the Speedwagon Foundation probably just sneak him in, like, to the prison system somehow? Just get him, like, a fake identity or something?
I don't think Josuke would want to be in prison. I think he just want to be the person that'll break them out of it. Like, he wouldn't want to be enter like, oh, I'm not going to be a prisoner or anything. Nah, I'm good. I'll just, like, go in like Jojo did. Like a visitor.
I meant, like, being, like, a guard or something, because he would be, like, out of high school at this point with how much time's passed, I'm pretty sure.
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. I can imagine that.
I think the issue with that, though, is that if the Speedwagon Foundation found out something internal, they probably wouldn't want to send him there, though, is the problem.
Yeah.
Because I think they'd easily figure that out after what happened to Jojo. It's like, oh, someone's there. Like, you gotta be hesitant.
It does make sense to have, like, that type of a cautious approach to it.
I mean, maybe it could be after she breaks out, he shows up, possibly.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, like he just be chilling. He's like, okay, I was like waiting for you guys to break out, so like let's just get this done.
Something I always wondered with part 6 is like, did Jolene ever have a bail? Because theoretically she could have bailed out if she did. I don't think she did though, because it was technically manslaughter. I don't think most people like that get that bail though.
Yeah. Yeah, this.
I mean, best case scenario, her case could have been like retried, possibly. I guess, but that's. I don't know who would want to watch that, in my opinion. I mean, some people would.
Yeah, it's definitely the best case scenario for like her case to be retried, but like I feel like the events would probably play out like mostly the same. Just things would be a lot more easier with Crazy Diamond around because his abilities are pretty good, especially with its physical capabilities. But yeah, that's all I have like really to say on like at least that matter.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Because I think with how like crazy Made in Heaven is, like at best you need like a GER, like something high enough that can even like do anything. I feel like.
Yeah, and that's like at the very best, right? Yeah. Very
That's
best.
best case scenario due to how strong it is. Because people, I think not a lot of people, but some people do underscale it.
Yeah, like at least like Iraqi, like at least regarding the subject, it's like just generally like no matter what stand would have appeared in like part six during the Maiden Heaven arc, it's like Iraqi doesn't think any of the stands would be able to like surpass like Maiden Heaven, like Maiden Heaven's ability. So like, well,
Well,
I
I'm
guess
thinking like even like what if Jotaro like has full potential? I don't even think that's good enough to even get a shot. Unfortunately,
I mean, like I mean, no stand evolution full potential, like well, he did have like I guess full potential in terms of like time stop, right? Like he finally got 5 seconds, but even then, that was not enough. Unfortunately, he got murked. But it was a good try, from my point of view.
I mean, he did the best that you honestly could at that point, unless he was willing to kill Trolling, which he wasn't. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Like that's the only interesting thing. Like if Jolene wasn't there, it's like maybe like could have had a shot, but still, from what Araki said, it's really hard to say he would allow that in the first place. That's the thing.
yeah. Jotaro definitely wouldn't have allowed that. Like essentially the plot point is like if Jolene dies, Jotaro like loses the will to live, right? So it's like, well, at that point, Jotaro's like useless. It's like, well, he's basically, I guess, brain dead or something. I don't know. But he'd shut down, right? If
Yeah.
Jolene died.
Well, like I said, he kind of cares about people, and especially after everything's like gone through. We probably don't have that many people left. Is the thing.
Yeah,
Because there are some characters I know that will do stuff if they think it means for greater good, but I don't think Jotaro is one of those people. At least how he's written, basically.
I could definitely see that. I could see that.
Like you would have to like break his character. And I think that's when you're going past like what if territory and treading more towards like fan fiction, I guess, like breaking actual like logic that the author sets up, I guess.
Yeah, the
But
whole narrative
lightly.
like themes, like at least yeah, the narrative makes sense.
I did want to throw one last quick fun what if real quick. And my
Mm-hmm.
idea is like if Spin was introduced like in part two, and that was like the new thing they're trying to do instead of doing like Haman again. Like Araki just came up
Ooh,
with the idea.
that'd be pretty fun. I could imagine just like essentially the infinite rotation would be used to like defeat ultimate cars. It'd
Yeah,
be
I could
like
see that.
it'd be energy beyond like what even the planet can like bestow. It's like a universal thing. Like the infinite rotation, the golden ratios, and everything, including like how the universe is formed. It's like a spiral, right? Like using that to just bypass like ultimate cars. That'd be pretty cool. Like cars, like you're the perfect representation of like the golden ratio. Like you represent everything in nature. You're the ultimate life form. Like like I'm gonna get a perfect shot of you. That's a pretty cool idea.
Because basically, if you have something that high of skill, you can't regenerate back from that. It's just too much,
Yeah,
realistically.
he'd like be getting hit with literally like infinite power, like infinite. So that is pretty good. Like universal, like at the barest minimums, right? Like that'd be enough to do the ultimate life form, and like that'd be a pretty cool conclusion. Rather than just sending cars in space. I'm not saying that's a bad conclusion, by the way. I was just saying like it'd be a cooler conclusion. I mean,
Well, I also think it'd be interesting, like having like Lisa trying to develop it, like in theory type of deal. Or either Joseph just came up with it himself somehow.
yeah,
They're just
yeah,
trying to figure out like its full potential, basically.
yeah. It's like some extension of Hamon. It's like I don't know. They don't teach you this in school, kids, or something. I don't know. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's kind of difficult for me to think who would come up with it because I could see it go either way, possibly.
Yeah. But it'd still be pretty cool to see at least Tom like way earlier that was in JoJo. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, because that was one thing I felt about it when I was originally thinking about it. It's like, what are things that actually kill a card? It's like, that could do it. It's like one of the few things that I think in the verse that can do that.
Yeah. Could definitely do that.
Because there's so many scenarios, like, even if, like, really strong people, he just runs into, like, draws, basically, with people. Because most of the things is regeneration, in a sense.
Yeah, 'cause that's usually the biggest factors when it comes to part 1 and 2 is like generally like a vampire or just the Pillarman's like regeneration, like to get over that. And if you face a Pillarman who's immune to like the thing that just negates their regeneration, it's like, well, you gotta try something new. Like, oh, what about the spin? That's our only hope. That'd be
Yeah, it could match up pretty well.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. It's like, I'm pretty sure he can't regenerate infinitely. It's like, sure. Like, he can try, but it's not gonna work. It's just, at least from what we know, what he can do.
Yeah.
I think the other fun thing that, when it comes to cars, I know Caleb Divio a while back, but like cars just on other universes are more interesting, and in hindsight, like what abilities he's basically given in concept.
Yeah, they're definitely a little bit more. Yeah, a little more interesting. Yeah, I can agree with that.
But we're gonna save that for another time, possibly, and like thank Jobber for coming on, talk about some what if ideas, and maybe we'll talk about more stuff in the future here. Hope everyone's enjoyed. Comment your ideas below if you want stuff for us to talk to the future. And this has been Drew from What Universe, and I'll see you in the next one.